I was standing in the cereal aisle at Kroger, trying to pick a box that wouldn't make me feel like a kid or a grandpa, when my phone buzzed so hard it hopped against the card handle. A message preview lit up. Congrats on charts. Proud of you, really. The name at the top hit me like cold air. Emily. My ex. The same Emily who, 5 weeks earlier, had parked outside my apartment with her seat warmers on high and her patience on empty, and said the word future like it was something I'd stolen and pawned. I stared at the screen so long, I made a stock boy uneasy. He walked past hugging a case of LaCroix like a sleeping dog and said, "You good, dude?" I nodded, tossed Cheerios into the cart, neutral, politically independent cereal, and opened the app where you can see the current charts. My track, Busy Signal, was at number 89. Not climbing a mountain, but let's say I'd at least put on boots and stepped over the parking lot curb without twisting an ankle. Congrats on the charts. From her. The same person who called my music a hobby with bills. Before you think this is the whole story, guy writes a song, guy gets a small win, ex crawls back. Hang on. That text was the first domino, not the last. I didn't know in the cereal aisle, but there were phone calls coming from numbers I didn't recognize, actual contract PDFs in my inbox, and one midnight visit from a neighbor who'd been listening through the wall so long she knew my vocal warm-ups better than I did. And all of it ping-ponged off one night in a parking lot with the engine idling. You'll see. I didn't realize how far it would go, and how much of it was going to be funny in a way that only gets funny once you've stopped being mad. Anyway, let me wind back to the parking lot. It was Cleveland in early fall, still warm enough that you're betrayed by a hoodie after lunch. We were in Emily's Civic outside my building. Brick rectangles and a flickering porch light that made everyone look guilty. She had both hands on the wheel, not because she was planning to peel out, but because that's how she liked to talk when it mattered. Steering even when parked. "I can't do this anymore," she said, eyes on the windshield. "I can't do this." "Define this," I said, because I make music and also dumb replies. The waiting. The evenings on milk crates. The gigs where you get paid in wings. "I'm almost 30, Ryan." "I'm 28, I said. "That's not a defense," she said. "You're talented. But talent doesn't land direct deposit." "It's landing," I said. "It's just circling the airport. You've been circling since I met you. It's a big airport." She turned then, really looked at me. "I need a boyfriend who has a plan." "I have a plan. Write songs alone. Post them. Hope the internet loves you." Basically. She shook her head with this pity that made me want to crack jokes to fire off flares. "I don't want to be the cruel one," she said. "I've tried to be supportive. But support has an expiration date. I need you to get a real job." "I have a job," I said. "At the music store." "Right. Discount strings and a punch card for coffee." "I mean a job. Something that moves us forward." "Forward to what?" "Marriage. A house. A washer and dryer that aren't in the basement under a pipe that sweats." I put my palm on the dashboard like I could calm the car, and the moment both. "I'm close," I said. "A little push. I have a song that's almost there. Every song is almost there with you." "You used to like that about me." "I like your optimism," she said. "I didn't know it had no brakes." "So this is it," I said. "You're choosing a washing machine over me. I'm choosing a life that isn't waiting on your almosts." I stared at the dusty air vent, the way the dust made tiny flags. "Emily," I said, "give me a couple more months." "I've given you years," she said. Then she reached out, touched my arm once, quick like pulling a Band-Aid. "I'm sorry." I got out without slamming the door, which felt like I deserved a medal. She pulled away, taillights like two dots that tell you a sentence is over. I walked upstairs and sat on the edge of my bed, which is the international chair of men who didn't see it coming even though they totally saw it coming. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I stared at the dent in the drywall from when I'd knocked a guitar case into it. Then I texted my friend Marcus, because he's the kind of guy who shows up with pizza and two opinions. "What happened?" he asked when he came over. "She broke up with me in the car." "In your car?" "Her car." "That feels important." "It is," he said. "It means she kept the emotional high ground and the Kevlar floor mats." "We ate pizza." He flipped open the little wax paper of pepper flakes and made it snow. "So you're done?" he asked. "Yeah." "You okay?" "I'm mad," I said, but like a tired kind of mad. Like when you're stuck in a line and you just accept it. Marcus leaned back. "You gonna write about it?" "I don't know yet." "You should." It's what you do. What I do isn't paying rent. Yet, he said. And before you say anything, I know I always say yet. Someone in your life has to. The morning after, I still had to go to the store. Cleveland Guitar and Drum. I opened at 10, turned the key in a glass door, while an elderly guy with a newspaper waited like we sold breakfast. I went through the motions. Tuned a Telecaster on the wall, wiped smudges off a drum throne, stacked packs of strings in a pyramid that would be knocked over by 2 p.m. if the universe cared about symmetry as much as I do. Around lunchtime, my manager, Pam, came in with a styrofoam cup of chili and a need to share thoughts. Pam is 45, divorced, knows every classic rock lyric, and treats them like medical advice. You look like a song, she said. What does a song look like? Something that needs a second verse, she said. You okay? Emily left. She'll be back, Pam said, like she was diagnosing a flu. I don't think so. Pam tapped the counter with her spoon. Every musician I ever met, the good ones, anyway, needed one bad heartbreak to clear their sinuses and get serious. Pam, please don't talk about my sinuses. You know what I mean, she said. Write it down, or sing it out. Whatever you do. For 2 weeks, I went through something I call productive numbness. I still put on my name tag. I still drove my chef's kiss level ugly Chevy Malibu to work, radio off, just tires and wind. I still answered friends with I'm fine, and then asked about their dogs, their kids, their leaky faucets. But I stopped scrolling, stopped waiting for Emily to change her mind, stopped watching couples at Target and calculating their happiness like math on a label. I also stopped playing the song I've been stuck on and started a new one. I didn't even plan it. I was at my desk at midnight with a cheap lamp and a colder-than-advertised cup of coffee. I opened a note and typed the words. You said you needed answers / so I gave you all my rings. It didn't mean anything yet, but it felt like a door click. I picked up the guitar, fingered a chord I'd been saving for something I cared about, and sang nonsense until the nonsense became a shape I liked. 2 nights later, I had a demo. I called it Busy Signal because the hook kept circling the line. You always wanted service / I kept giving you a busy signal, which is funny if you're the kind of person who still remembers landlines. The verses were honest. The chorus had a kind of bounce that made my neighbor's cat, a gray loaf named Olive, jump onto my windowsill to peer in like a judge from a show with big money prizes and bigger opinions. When I played the song for Marcus, he said, "It sounds like you heard yourself clearly for the first time." What is that? A calendar quote. Maybe, he said. Also, it's catchy. Catchy enough to pay rent. I'm not a numbers guy, he said. But yeah, maybe. I booked 2 hours at a little studio in Lakewood run by a guy named Fun. Fun looked like he'd been 12 in the late 90s and never quite recovered. He had a room full of pedals labeled with tape and handwriting that looked like a ransom note. He also had good ears. All right, Fun said when I finished the first take. That chorus is Velcro. Too sticky. No such thing, he said. But the second verse could punch harder. I know, I said. I'm riding on fumes. Fumes make fireworks, Finn said. Take another pass. I did. I swapped one line, then another. I didn't go after Emily by name. I didn't list her crimes. She'd be a face in a crowd for anyone else hearing it. Just a silhouette who said future like a debt collector. But I let the point land. She wanted certainty. I had a map with hand-drawn roads. She wanted a house. I had a keyring with dreams that jingled but didn't open anything yet. When we wrapped, Finn spun in his chair and said, "You releasing this yourself?" "Yeah." "Good. Don't wait on someone to give you permission." I posted it a week later. I did the usual. Uploaded artwork that looked like I'd taken it in a bathroom with good light, wrote a caption with 3 draft versions of humility, texted the link to friends with the phrase, "If you like it, share it, and if you don't, pretend you never heard it." Day 1. A few hundred plays. People from high school you forget know you exist. Day 2. A clip of the chorus got picked up by a girl in Phoenix who shoots videos in her car between shifts at a chain restaurant. She used it to tell a story about a guy who forgot her birthday. The video blew up like a grill that wasn't cleaned. By day 4, the clip was everywhere. People mouthed the words. Someone in Milwaukee used it to film their pit bull wearing sunglasses and sitting upright like a passenger. I'm not proud of how many times I watched that one. Marcus came over that night with chips and salsa and the excitement of a man who finally has evidence his friend wasn't just making noise. "You seeing this?" he said, shoving his phone in my face. "You're on my couch," I said. "Why are you showing me my own song?" "Because I want the dopamine hit of being the messenger." Pam at the store started introducing me to customers like I was a local attraction. "This is Ryan," she'd say to a teen with a moody haircut. "He sells strings and writes hits." "Pam," I'd say. "Let's be accurate and say a song people are currently making dog videos to." "It's a start," she'd say. The chart thing happened on a Wednesday morning. I was putting new price tags on used pedals because apparently I need to know the difference between transparent overdrive and your amp is now angrier when my phone buzzed. Marcus first. "You seeing this?" Then Pam. "Open the app, Brooke." Then Fun. "Told you." I opened the chart and there was busy signal number 89. During lunch, I sat on the curb behind the store, next to the employee smoking zone without smoking. The alley smelled like old fries and rain. That's when Emily texted. "Congrats on the charts," she wrote. "Proud of you, really." I stared at it. 3 dots blinked like her words were breathing. Another text. "I always knew you had it in you." I typed and deleted multiple drafts of something that would have felt good for about 6 seconds and then would have relit a fire I didn't want. I pocketed the phone, finished my water, and went back inside where a guy named Tony was arguing with Pam about whether real musicians use clip-on tuners. That night, when I finally answered, I kept it simple. "Thanks." She wrote back immediately. "Do you have time to talk?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I called Marcus because sometimes you need a no-frills opinion. "She wants to talk," I said. "What would that accomplish?" he said. "Closure." "You already closed the door," he said. "Don't draft new weather stripping." I laughed. "You know what the weirdest part is? I'm not even angry. I used to be, but now it's data." "Then keep it that way," he said. "Talk if you want, but don't become the museum tour guide to your own pain. Make it short." I agreed to meet her for coffee because I'm a human being and also because I wanted to see if the person who left me in a parking lot looked different in sunlight. We chose a place halfway between our apartments, the kind of cafe where the chairs have a satisfying scrape and the pastries look like someone's aunt baked them, but then a food stylist touched them with a wand. She walked in looking exactly the same, which is unfair. "Hey," she said. "Hey." We stood there awkwardly until the barista said, "If you two want to stare at each other, I can add it to the menu." We ordered. "Saturday." "I meant it," she said. "Congratulations." "Thanks. It's a good song." "Appreciate it." She waited, maybe hoping I'd serve a confession or a joke. I did neither. "I just want you to know," she said, "I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just thought. You thought betting against me was safer," I said. "I get it. It wasn't like that," she said. "It was exactly like that," I said. "And look, I don't blame you for wanting what you want. I just wish you believed me when I said what I wanted wasn't gone. It was taking the scenic route." She looked down at her cup. "Seeing your song everywhere," she said softly, "made me think." "About what?" "About how I handled things. About how you were always honest with me about who you are. I was honest about what I need. But maybe I wasn't kind." I sipped coffee that tasted like a well-behaved campfire. "You were clear," I said. "Clarity hurts, but it's useful." "I didn't come here to ask for anything," she said. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for not believing in you." "It's okay," I said, and meant it in the grown-up way, not the door-open way. It pushed me, which is a strange gift. We sat for a minute. Someone at the next table was telling a story about a raccoon in their garage like it was a horror film. "I'll let you go," Emily said. "But can I ask something?" "Sure." "Was the song about me?" "It was about me," I said. "You were the weather in it." She smiled a little. "That's fair." After, I went home and worked my usual closing shift at my desk. Email replies, comments, the part where making a song turns into spreadsheets. I had messages from people I'd never met who said, "This line gave words to something I didn't know how to say," which is the kind of note you save in a folder for days when you forget what you're for. I also had a message from a number with an LA area code. "Hey Ryan," the voicemail said. "This is Chloe from Ridgeway Records. We heard busy signal. We think it has legs. Can we jump on a call?" I called Marcus and played him the voicemail. "That's the tone of someone who would like to introduce you to a lawyer and a long PDF," he said. I can't afford a lawyer. Maybe you can, if they pay for one, he said. But don't say yes to anything with the words perpetuity or an all-known and unknown universes. We scheduled a call. I put on a clean hoodie, which is my version of tie. Chloe had that pace people get when they've practiced sounding like excitement is professional. We love the song, she said. We think we can help it grow. Playlist support, radio stations in media markets, a couple of brand placements. Nothing wild, but real. What do you want from me? I asked. An EP. For more tracks we can lean on. And some content. You know the drill. E-do. We're not trying to change you, she said. We just want to widen the lane. I like my lane, I said. But I'm not against more room. Good. I'll send over a term sheet. Talk it through with someone you trust. We'll be here. After the call, I went for a drive down the shoreway, past the lake that behaves like an ocean when it feels like it. I rolled the windows down and let the wind mess with my hair like it was a dog friend. I wasn't giddy exactly. It was more like relief with sneakers on. Not a rival, not even close. But a real step where before there'd been only talking. That night, I got a knock on my door at 11. It was Mrs. Clark from 3B, who has lived in the building since people thought VCRs were here to stay. She stood with her hands tucked into sleeves like they were secrets. Sorry to bother, she said, but I wanted to tell you I heard your song on my granddaughter's phone. She's in high school, and she played it for me and said, "This is my neighbor." I felt famous. So thank you for that. I laughed. Thank you for not calling the cops when I was tracking vocals at 1 a.m. I call the cops for real things, she said. And for the record, you've gotten better. When you first moved in, you sounded like you were trying to push a couch upstairs. Now you sound like you know where the stairs are. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me, I said. I didn't like the bridge, she added. But I'm 80. Fair. I spent the weekend working on the EP Chloe asked for, but I didn't chase the same exact feeling as Busy Signal. That's a trap. You write a song that works, and suddenly you're rinsing and repeating until you forget what you were rinsing. I wrote one that was quieter, about the way a city sounds at 2 a.m. when you realize your neighbors have whole lives. I wrote one up-tempo about missing opportunities because you took the long aisle through the store and then found the register closed, although you disguise that kind of thing with metaphors about traffic, so nobody maps it exactly. I wrote one that was just me and an acoustic guitar because a ladder needs different rungs, not a stack of the same rung. Finn helped me track them. Marcus made sandwiches. Pam stopped by the studio once with a bag of pretzels and stood in the control room, nodding with her arms crossed like a baseball coach about to tell a reliever he's done enough for the night. You sound like you finally got tired of apologizing, she said through the glass. I was apologizing? Not with words. With the way you left room for people to doubt you. You don't leave that room anymore. It took a minute, I said. It took the exact minute it needed, she said. Chloe's term sheet arrived, and Marcus called his cousin, who is not a lawyer but married to someone who knows one. Eventually, a real lawyer looked at it and drew circles around phrases like first option and advance recoupable and explained the basics. Money now is money later with strings attached. We adjusted. Ridgeway adjusted back. We landed somewhere not life-ruining. I signed. I didn't announce it. The win wasn't the paper. The win was the work. In the middle of all this, Emily texted one more time. I'm happy for you, she wrote. I hope everything you wanted is coming true. Thanks, I wrote. I hope you get what you want to. Can I ask something else? She replied. Sure. If I hadn't left, do you think any of this would have happened? It would have been easy to write something like, no, leaving lit the fuse, but that gives her too much credit and me too little. So I told the truth. Hard to say, I wrote. You leaving didn't create the songs. It just cleared the noise so I could hear them. No dots this time. She wrote, I understand, and that was that. A week later, the label got Busy Signal onto a couple of stations. Not prime time, not the shows that brag about Caller 3 winning a trip to Cancun. More like the drive home from a suburban soccer field, where parents are half listening and kids are counting fries. Still, I got texts from cousins in Mentor and a friend in Dayton who said, was that you on 102.1? I almost missed my exit. I played a small show in a bar that has better nachos than amps. I made the flyer myself, posted it, and figured maybe 50 people would show. The room was full enough that the air was warm. And there was a woman in the front who sang along to the second verse like she'd practiced, which means she'd listened enough times to learn words that aren't the hook. That's different. That's personal. After the show, while I was wrapping cables with the particular rage of someone who will never master cable wrapping, a guy about my age with a clipboard walked up. "Name's Jordan," he said. "Local radio. We want you for a morning segment. Play busy signal acoustic, do a chat. You free Thursday?" "I open the store at 10, I said. "But I can get Pam to cover." "Pam," he said. "My boss. My gatekeeper. My guardian angel who uses sarcasm like sunscreen." "Right," he laughed. "Tell Pam thanks in advance." Thursday morning, I sat in a studio with two hosts who were the exact brand of chirpy you want at 8 a.m. They asked about the song, about the story, about Cleveland food like they were obligated by statute. Then they asked what everyone asks in a way that's totally reasonable and still makes you want to sigh for 5 minutes. So, the male host said, "If Emily's listening." "Careful," I said, smiling. "She's a real person." "I know," he said. "Do you want to say anything?" I thought about it. "Sure," I said into the mic, "thank you." It was hard. It helped. The female host gave me a thumbs up like I'd just saved a kitten from a well on the air. Instead of celebrating, I went back to the shop because inventory doesn't care about your chart position. I was restocking capos when a middle school kid named Noah came in with his mom. He bought his first guitar from us a year ago and came back for lessons that turned mostly into him showing me riffs he learned from the internet while I pretended to teach him in a way his mom found reassuring. "You're the guy on the radio," he said. "Sometimes," I said. "You wrote that song about being busy? It's about more than that." "I know," he said. "I get it." Noah is 12. He doesn't get it in the way I do, but he gets that music can carry a thought farther than your voice on a good day. That's enough. He bought a strap with lightning bolts and left like he'd just joined a secret group. The EP came out in November. It didn't crack a huge list. It didn't change the world. It gave me 3 months of being in motion without inventing reasons. I got better at emails, better at recording quickly, better at saying no to gigs that looked like favors with a 2-drink minimum. I stopped apologizing for sleeping 6 hours because I had to finish a bridge. I started waking up with lines in my head that weren't about Emily anymore. She'd been the weather in one song. I was written for more climates than that. At Christmas, I drove home to my parents' place in Parma in my perfectly average Malibu with a steering wheel that squeaks at the apex of a turn. My mom bought the newspaper with my little radio blurb in it and clipped it like I'd won state. My dad ordered barbecue for the whole family and called it catering, which made my aunt laugh and correct him even though it was technically catering. After dinner, he asked, "You gonna keep the job at the shop?" "For now," I said. "Health insurance is not a metaphor, Dad." He nodded. "I like that you know the difference. I learned the hard way." He poured ginger ale into a glass like it deserved respect. "That girl," he said, carefully neutral. "We're good," I said. "I'm good." "Good," he said. "You know, your grandfather played trumpet in a polka band, and everyone told him to cut it out after the war. He didn't. It never paid much, but he died with a smile you couldn't pry off with tools. That's something." I thought about the people who'd messaged me to say the song turned down the volume on a certain kind of hurt. I thought about Fun's pedals, Pam's chilly advice, Marcus's relentless yet Chloe's call, Mrs. Clark hearing herself mentioned on a teenager's phone. I thought about Emily in her car, the air vents with dust flags, the word future like a brick. I realized I didn't resent the brick anymore. It built something I live in now. January was quiet in the way winter is honest. The flurry cooled. Streams leveled. But the foundation was set deeper than before. I knew I could write under pressure and also after the pressure stepped out for a cigarette. I knew I could say no to the wrong attention and yes to the right grind. I knew the sound of my own ideas without needing another person to nod. One night in mid-January, I was taking the trash to the alley when I ran into Emily again. Not in a movie way, in a Cleveland way. She was coming out of the ice cream place on the corner in a parka that could double as a sleeping bag. She saw me, smile startled her face, then she smoothed it. "Hey," she said. "Hey." For a second, we did that dance where you decide if you're going to stop or just wave. We stopped. "How's it going?" I asked. "Good," she said. "Work's good. I switched teams. Better fit." "Nice." "You?" Working, I said. Writing. Pretending to be organized. She laughed. I heard a new one, she said. The one about the city at 2 a.m. You heard that? Yeah. What did you think? It sounds like you, she said, without the apology. I nodded. Thanks. She looked like she wanted to say something else. Maybe she wanted to say she was sorry again. Maybe she wanted to ask if I was seeing someone. Maybe she wanted to tell me about the washer and dryer she'd found upstairs in a place with south-facing windows. Instead, she said, "Take care of yourself." You too, I said. Back upstairs, I put on a kettle and opened my notebook. I wrote down what she'd said, without the apology. It wasn't a song title. It was a checkpoint, a sticky note on a map that finally had printed roads. At the next practice, Marcus sat on my couch while I ran through a new tune that wasn't about anyone except the version of me who keeps trying. You're different, he said. Ow. You stopped auditioning for people who already made up their mind. Was I doing that? Everyone does, he said, but not everyone quits. Is that a compliment? It's my version of one, he said. Also, the chorus needs a harmony. I'll try something. He did, and it landed, and we high-fived like children and adults all at once. By spring, Busy Signal had settled into the category of things that happened. Not a fluke, not a forever, just something that gave me a ladder. The label didn't turn me into a product. They left me alone more than they interfered, which is, I've learned, the nicest thing help can do. Pam started telling people a new line. This is Ryan. He sells strings and keeps his promises. I told her that sounded like a campaign slogan. She said, then get elected to something that matters to you. I played a little run of shows through Ohio and into Western Pennsylvania, where the crowds clap on 2 and 4 if they love you and on 1 and 3 if they're trying to sabotage you. In a coffee shop outside Pittsburgh, a guy with a baseball cap said after the set, "My girlfriend dragged me here." I liked it. High praise, I said. She dumped me last month, he added. Your song, you know. I do, I said. She'll be sorry, he said. Maybe, I said. But you'll be better. He nodded like that arrangement was acceptable. The last time Emily texted was on my birthday. Happy birthday, she wrote. Simple. No knife tucked in the wrapping. I said thanks. Because I meant it, because an old chapter can wave from across the street without making you reread it. Every once in a while someone asks if I wrote Busy Signal to get even. I didn't. I wrote it to get honest. There's a difference. Getting even feels good for a minute and then asks for a sequel. Getting honest plugs the leak. I still drive the Malibu. I still shop at Kroger when I run out of grown-up cereal. I still miss things about Emily that were good and polite and Tuesday night easy. I'm allowed to. A breakup doesn't wipe memories. It reorganizes them. The big difference now is I don't treat my life like a waiting room for other people's approval. If you ask me what I do, I tell you I make songs. If you ask me who I am, I tell you I'm the guy who finally hung the picture straight without asking if you like it. If you ask me whether I'm glad Emily left, I say I'm glad I stayed. Sometimes I go back to that cafe where we met for coffee after her congrats text. I sit by the window with the chairs that make the satisfying scrape, and I work on something that might be nothing. The barista remembers me as the Busy Signal guy. He asked once, "You gonna write a sequel?" "No," I said. "I'm gonna write the thing that comes after." He nodded. "That's better." The last show I played before writing this, Mrs. Clark from 3B came with her granddaughter. They stood at the back where the sound is saner. After, she hugged me in a way that said she accepted the bridge now, or at least didn't mind it. You know, she said, sometimes it takes one person to walk away so another can find the microphone. That's not how microphones work, I said. You know what I mean, she said. Ido. I know that sometimes love shows up like an assistant coach, and sometimes it shows up like a bad landlord. Either way, you're the one who has to pay attention to the terms. I know that Emily wasn't the villain of my life. She was the chapter that ended. I know that the little number next to my song on a chart didn't make me a better musician. Sitting down every night when it would have been easier, sleep did. And I know that anger can be fuel, but the car still needs steering. When I got that first congrats text in the aisle at Kroger, I thought it was the end of something. It wasn't. It was a checkpoint. It was the stubborn little sign that says you're not lost. You've just been taking the long way on purpose. Now, when I think about the word future, I don't hear it like a bill coming due. I hear it like a chorus I haven't heard yet. but can already hum. If Emily wants to believe leaving me was the wrong call, I won't argue. That lesson belongs to her. My lesson was different. I don't need someone else to hold the door to what I want. I needed to stop talking about almost, sit down at the dull desk, and write something that let the music do the talking. I needed to be the kind of person who can get a text from an ex in the cereal aisle and answer with 2 words instead of an essay, because the real essay was already out there doing its job, louder and kinder than I could ever be in a message. We're fine now. She found what she needed, and I found the work that was waiting for me even when I didn't see it. If you hear busy signal on the drive home from somewhere ordinary and it makes you check your mirrors a little kinder, that's all I wanted. Not revenge, not proof, just that small click inside where you realize the call you were waiting for is your own.